It's not actually getting to the destination.
Yeah.
Right? It's not even the journey to get to the destination. It's who you're becoming as you're traveling towards the desired destination. And so we get it wrong all the time. Oh, if I just had, or it's the joy in the journey. Okay, that's somewhat compelling. But the truth is, it's the becoming process as you're choosing to move in that direction.
Welcome back to Case Studies. I'm with my new friend, Lloyd Roberts. Literally the first time that we met.
Yes. It is. Great to meet you.
So the team put the podcast together, and the feedback was, do you want to do a podcast with Lloyd? And I said, I haven't heard of Lloyd. Who is Lloyd? And they said, he built LoanPro. And I was like, and so when we looked at the business, it's a like $1 billion plus business that you guys have built out of Farmington, Utah.
Yes, sir.
You and your brothers.
Yes.
And I was like, of course, like anybody that's built something that has a B on it, there is a story to tell. And so as we were discussing, this is one of 17 businesses that you guys have built.
Yes.
And I think that sounds more sexy to say 17 businesses until you actually get into the businesses. Yes. You say some of these weren't that impressive.
The school of hard knocks.
Probably never should have been built other than like experience or whatever. But yeah, I can't wait to jump into your story and just hear this entrepreneurial journey. The other one that's always fun for me, I can reference my life because it's my life. Yep. I graduated in 2001. 43 years old from a small town in Logan.
Yeah.
And you're what, 45?
Yeah.
Like you're a baby. Like you're a young. So like when you're saying I built 17 companies and I'm the oldest of 3 brothers, it brings it closer to home for me because I'm like, we're the same age. We kind of, I would have been a sophomore and you're a senior. You know what I mean? And so you go through that and you say, oh wow, I look forward to kind of hearing that track and those years and those steps. And so anyway, thank you for coming.
Yeah, excited to dive into it.
Yeah, so talk to me about life growing up. You said started in Orem, right?
Yeah, born and raised in this area here in Orem, and we lived here till 3rd grade, and then we moved up to Syracuse. Parents had a lot of kids. They had 8 kids.
Oh, wow. So you had a big family.
Big family. So I'm the middle child.
Okay.
My 2 business partners are both younger than me, my brothers. But as far as the family dynamic growing up, I was the middle child. So growing up, lived kind of in a little farm community called Syracuse, Utah. Uh-huh. It's definitely expanded over the years. I went to Clearfield High School. Spent a couple years out in Atlanta, Georgia, sharing the love of Jesus out there.
Do a church mission out there?
Yep. Yeah,
so my good buddy just got called as mission president out there.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, Andy and Shannon Dent.
Okay,
popping out to Atlanta, Georgia.
It's a great area.
Yeah,
it's a great area. Still in contact with my mission president. Actually, he's been helping us do some things on the fulfillment side of things, which is what my primary focus is.
Business guy.
Yep, he was a business guy. He owned a lot of frozen yogurt franchises.
Yeah,
I remember thinking, just looking up to him, and this guy's the king.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Some entrepreneur and all these locations, and he is an incredible man. He actually is a professor up at Utah State right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Up at the Huntsman School.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, really cool. So you grow up, 8 kids, go on a mission. So faith was something that was kind of important to the family growing up. Go to Atlanta. Where do you go from there?
So I got home, ended up meeting my sweetheart. We got married a couple years later. And
you guys meet at school?
We met on a blind date. Yeah. So this is pre-internet dating.
Yeah. So like, what's the story? Like, who's setting this up?
Well, I think she heard I was blind in one eye and set up a blind date here. So, but rewinding a little bit more, part of the story that often wasn't shared in my youth was I was born with cystic fibrosis. And if you know much about cystic fibrosis, especially, in the 80s, the medical world was saying, hey, you probably won't make it till you're an adult.
What?
Yeah.
It was that serious.
Yeah.
Because it's not today, right?
It's less today,
Yeah.
but life expectancy's in mid to late 30s today.
Wow, so still way lower.
Yeah. In fact, my previous bishop, both of his sons were born with cystic fibrosis, and one passed away when he was 18 and one was like 20. So all of his posterity.
And so you said born with it, still have it?
Yep, still have it. My older brother was born with it as well, and my younger sister. And so, it's been a journey.
And so I'm so ignorant. Give me what is cystic fibrosis?
Yeah, cystic fibrosis is a mutation that thickens the mucus in your body.
Okay.
And if you think of all the different places that have mucus in your body, it can cause a lot of difficulties. Like in your mother's womb, there's some things that happen that make it so that you don't develop a vas deferens tube. Interesting, right? It just never develops. So procreation is uncommon. Having children is
having
uncommon.
Cystic fibrosis.
From cystic fibrosis. But it's mainly known for the amount of congestion that happens in the lungs, which causes scarring. And
so did you always grow up with that, always congested?
Yeah.
That was just always kind of
born with it.
Still a part of life?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of that it has been your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, one of the bigger day-to-day adjustments is I can't digest food.
Okay.
And so I take enzymes every time I eat.
Yeah.
And sometimes you mess up and it causes, complications in one of a couple directions.
Yeah.
But overall, really what sometimes are things that view to hold us back has really allowed me to view life differently, because it's like, look, if I'm not going to live that long, I'm going to live for today, and I'm going to really progress. I'm not going to be waiting for the tomorrows.
Yeah.
So it's allowed fulfillment to come at a different level, and it's allowed me to be comfortable failing, but failing forward, which, success is simply the iterative process of failure. And if you can fail more, if you've already failed and learned 100 ways to not do something, when a competitor has put together a business plan and submitted it to the bank for financing, you're leaps and bounds ahead of the competition. So my brothers and I, we were able to take this concept and just run with it, just try things and fail fast, fail forward, and finally get to a spot where something finally took off, right? Just from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And, it's not all roses and butterflies.
But what you're describing is what great entrepreneurs do. You know what I mean? Maybe it was just intuitive to you, but like what you're describing, that fail fast, fail cheap, iterate.
Yeah.
That is kind of that like nail it and scale it model. Like that, what you're describing is like the great entrepreneurs do that.
Right. It's a requirement to win.
They get going.
Right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that when you win is when you trick, whatever you want to call it, an investor to put money into your idea. Yay, I got the $1 million or whatever it is. Yay, I won. Well, no, you didn't. Now the fun starts. Now the work starts. Now you have a boss.
The $1 million is the burden.
It is. That's the ball and chain.
That's the stewardship.
You think you're your own boss? No, they need a return on their money.
100%.
And you've agreed to that. You've signed up for something. So that's not the win. So we bootstrap all of our businesses.
Yeah.
We didn't borrow any money. We didn't take any investments, whatever. It's primarily talking about our financing and our software company.
Yeah.
And all the way to the point that, about 4 years ago, we had a growth equity firm put $100 million in.
Who came in?
FTV.
Okay. And have they been a good partner?
They've been great. Yeah, they've been real good.
So cool.
Yeah, they kind of specific to the space, financial technology type of things. We've been really happy with them.
Yeah.
They got a seat on the board, and they've been very, very helpful.
But you guys still own majority, right?
We do.
Yeah. So maybe go back even to the beginning. So you meet cystic fibrosis. That's just a part of life. Do you know it was a part of life since you're can know what life's about? Like, are your parents communicating it to you? Like,
my parents actually did a really good job in this category of not having this limit us. Right?
Yeah.
I went and met some other kids with cystic fibrosis, and the undertones that they were fed was, oh, you're sick. You're not going to last very long.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you eat. Go ahead and just sit down and play video games. Don't go out and work and play and sweat. Be careful. You're delicate.
Yeah.
And I don't think that really translated super well. I'm not saying that it was wrong in all scenarios, but in my scenario, I really appreciated that my parents didn't baby us at all. No, we were out there weeding the garden, hoeing this and doing the manual labor and sweating. And they weren't feeding us, candy bars and lollipops. We were eating from the garden. We were eating the cow we raised. And they treated us like we had longevity is part of our future.
Yeah.
And for better or worse, my brother and I are still here. My sister did pass away from it.
She did pass.
She did, yeah.
And how old?
She passed away about 6 years ago.
But how old was she?
37.
So young.
Yeah, 36.
Man,
in fact,
this combo is blowing my mind. Fascinating to think how you would live your life if you knew it was a shorter shot clock.
Yeah.
And I think you'd live it better.
I do too.
I think that you'd be more present. I think, like when we were talking earlier, and I don't want to jump to the end, but you have like this really incredible charity that you built. And I was like, that's really awesome, but that's kind of like legacy type stuff. Why is Lloyd not starting his next company or whatever it is? And but the cystic fibrosis kind of brings some of that where it's like, what music do you want to play? Like, what dent do you want to go make? Yeah. I wonder if you would have that same urgency without it.
Yeah.
And that's just a question I have for you. Like, do you think you would have had like the same perspective / urgency?
I don't.
Yeah.
And I had a story, little new, but when I was running the revenue department of LoanPro, I hired a new brand manager. And in the interview process, really good guy, younger than me, but very ambitious and just beamed a positive energy, right? Was one of these sources of light. So we hired him. Great guy. And it was less than a year later, he came and kind of knocked on the door, and I was doing a bunch of stuff, and he asked if we could meet. And I said, yeah, come on in. And we sat on down, and he said, do you remember when you hired me the day you hired me, what we talked about? And I really didn't. And I'm like, remind me. And he said, you sat me down and had a conversation with me and said, if an angel or a genie came to you and said that you have 30 days left, but you can't tell anybody. If you do, you're gone. But if you don't, you got 30 days left. How would you show up? What would you do differently? What would your day-to-day look like, right? How would you show up for your spouse? And he didn't have a child at the time, but his wife was pregnant. And I said, oh yeah. And it kind of came, it was a similar talk track that was sometimes shared. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. And he said, I really chose to show up differently. And I just need to let you know I was just diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer. And he has since passed. And, he's become one of my many examples of what it looks like, right? We all too often, my passion at this point is personal fulfillment.
Yeah.
I wrote a book on the topic. I host retreats. In fact, next week I'm going to the North Shore, and we have a dozen couples that we're taking to the North Shore, and we talk about specifically fulfillment.
I can't wait to dive into this.
This is so fun.
This is like my passion as well.
It is. And so my passion used to be revenue. I viewed fulfillment as this puzzle.
Yeah.
And I felt like I understood some of the pieces of the puzzle. Be honest, be a good man, be a good husband, be a good father, and so on. But honestly, I viewed a huge disproportionate piece of the puzzle was this big fat piece right in the middle with a dollar sign on it.
Yeah.
And we were raised, lower middle class. My parents did awesome with what they had, but we didn't go out to eat.
Yeah.
Our clothes were hand-me-downs, right? There was, the dollar needed to be stretched, right? And that's okay. That's okay.
Of course.
But finally, when we did the big reveal and you had the big check with $100 million on it, it was much like your favorite team winning the big game, right? You're like, yeah, this is amazing. High fives all around. And we worked so hard to create those organically grateful moments that are magic. Yeah. But how do you feel about your team winning the big game a week later?
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, that's cool. All right. I like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give you the same emotion as the moment that it happened. And I was driving home from work one day and I was thinking these thoughts and it actually brought a little bit of fear to me because I was like, I've worked so hard to get this piece. I felt like if I just had resources, I could do and be and become the man that I really want to be. And I fought so hard to do it. And finally, from most people's perspective, that box was now checked. But it became clear to me that it was not the key. It was not the missing link or piece to the fulfillment puzzle. And thinking these thoughts, that's when my younger sister called me and she's like, hey, Lloyd, how you doing? I'm like, good, Susie, how are you? We talked for 5-10 minutes and then I can't remember what she was saying, but I heard a beep in the background. And it just was a repetitive beep. And I cut her off and I said, wait a minute, Susie, where are you? And she said, oh, I'm in the hospital. And I said, well, you started the conversation by saying you're doing good, but you're in the hospital? And she said, well, yeah, as soon as your fever gets over 105, your body relaxes, so I don't hurt as much. And I got off the phone with her, and then a buddy called me, and this buddy has the life that most of us would strive for, right? The wife and the kids and the picket fence and the fat bank account and, big biceps and you fill in the blanks. And he was so worked up by an idea that not only had not yet happened, but with hindsight never would happen. And his peace was gone. He was miserable. His state was low. He was worked up. He was frustrated. And I got off the phone and I compared the contrast between those two situations. One's circumstances are truly dire, and there was not very many days left until she'd pass. And the other one had all the things, the life that we worked so hard to build, and he was miserable. And so in this new frame of mind, realizing that my previous belief of what the fulfillment puzzle looked like, I was wrong, it put me on this journey to try to really figure out what is the fulfillment formula. And look, I love Jesus. I love the church that I've hitched my wagon to. But let's be candid. Oftentimes the person or the family that sits in the pew before you, they're miserable. And yet the one behind you, they're fulfilled.
Yeah.
And so as much as it would be to say, yay, hitch your wagon to a specific religion or to Jesus, and you will have found fulfillment, there's clearly people that have and have not found it in a variety of environments, religions, and cultures, right? And so I really wanted to figure out, what is it that drives fulfillment more than anything else? And so honestly, I took a whole year. I didn't watch any movies for fun. I was all in on what is fulfillment. And
what did you study?
A bunch of the greats. Not only the scriptures, not only prophets of old and the new, but also Tony Robbins, Les Brown, these great people that have figured out pieces.
Keep them going. Who else do you have in there?
Yeah. Oh boy, there's probably one of my favorite. I went to a few Tony Robbins events that were helped me change some core beliefs.
Yep. Which ones did you go to?
Unleash the Power Within. And what is his other big one that he does?
UPW.
UPW. So I went to those two.
Or Date with Destiny.
I can't remember.
Business Mastery.
Didn't do that one.
Date with Destiny.
Just went to two of them.
UPW.
Right? But it was enough for me to reset some core stories, some core beliefs. But the truth is as much discovery as I did, it was like going to a master chef and being like, oh my goodness, you're incredible at this. And I know because I can see the cake that you just baked and that thing looks incredible.
Yeah.
Right. And I felt like all of the greats were saying things in this flavor. Hey, have you heard about sugar? Oh, it's incredible. Let me teach you all about sugar. What about flour? What about starch? What about, and all these ingredients that make up what could be found in any type of a recipe. And I wanted to say, that's incredible. Love learning more about these ingredients, but I don't really care. I want to know, what is the formula? What is the recipe that you use to bake that specific cake? What do I mix together? How long? And what do I leave on the side? How long do I pop it in the oven? How long do I let it cool? What do I smear all over afterwards? Right? Because you figured it out. I own a software company, or co-own one with my brothers, but I'm not a programmer. But I know that in general, if a code works, I don't need to be a programmer to take that code and redeploy it. Right? But the general thesis was, hey, I can teach you about ingredients, but all of us humans are different. You got to figure out your own recipe.
Yeah.
And candidly, that just didn't sit well with me. So fast forward, and I feel was made clear to me what the fulfillment formula really is. Everybody's entitled to figure it out for themselves. But this is what it's for me, and it is G cubed. And that is not the summation like you would do in school of A plus B plus C, equals the average GPA of a 3.0 or a B, but rather it's the multiplication. And there's an invisible multiplier that's God. Your God, not mine. right? Whatever you think God is, there's something that loves you and wants you to become a better version of yourself. 2, aka the name of our charity, to become more. And it is, what are the 3 G's? The first G is gratitude. The second G is growth. And the third G is give. We can dive into the nuances of those because we often hear a word and we think that we know what it means. Like love, right? English is weird. You say the word love and all of us think of something specific.
Yeah.
But you can translate to other languages. One that has the most intense is there's 72 different words that translate to love. For example, the love of a husband and wife, clearly that's a different love than a father and a son, right? But we use one word. So when I use the word gratitude, we think we know what it means, but to me, it means something very specific. And that is not the decision to say, I should be more grateful. Rather to say, I choose on purpose to not be entitled, to root out the inverse of gratitude, which is entitlement. So if you think for a second, you often tell yourself, oh, I should be more grateful that I fill in the blank with something that should be good. But what if you said, I'm not going to even focus on being grateful. Instead, I'm going to choose on purpose to root out entitlement, right? All of a sudden, if you're not entitled to this crisp air in this room or the blood in my veins or the air in my lungs or the cash in my bank account or the fact that I feel good today or dinner tonight, if I'm not entitled to any of that, I don't even make a cognizant choice. I organically become grateful for it. And our unconscious minds know the difference in between what we should or what we're trying to force. Oh, I'm going to fill out a gratitude journal. These are the things I could be grateful for or I should be grateful for. And the organic experience of becoming grateful because entitlement is rooted out. And we can dive into the same things on what it means to truly grow, what that looks like. Because it's not just what's preached from a variety of pulpits of push it, fight, make it happen, work, make the calls, pick up the phone. All this stuff is important, but we all innately know that if that's the definition of gratitude, at some time we're going to fall off the hamster wheel because you can't run 24/7. Right? So for me, growth is not only this. Imagine for a moment you have a big 8, you push it over into infinity sign, really made up of 2 circles. It's this track that you're traveling across between become, the push it, make it happen, fight, right? And the other side of the track, which is be still, be present, right? Be aware when you're listening to your child or your spouse, instead of just like, okay, good, or let me think about what I'm going to say before you're even done. What if you just slowed down and were present and really thinking about the emotions and the ideas and the thought behind the thought that they're trying to share? And then the adjustment between the become and the be still. And the last one is give, right? And I'm not talking about the tools of time, talent, and treasure. They're important. You need a hammer, you need a screwdriver, you need the tools, but I'm talking about the heart behind it. Rather recognizing that we are not the source of giving, but if we choose to, we can be a conduit. And we don't need to outsource that to somebody else, right? Oh, hey, this person I know, they're more holy, they're more righteous. God will probably use them, right? But the reality is it's one of the biggest tricks. If we can instead say, hey, God, I know I'm a sinner. I sinned yesterday. I've sinned today. I'm going to sin tomorrow. It's inevitable. I need Jesus, which is the definition of it, right? If I don't sin, I don't need him. But I do sin, so I need the atonement. But instead of focusing on my addictions and temptations and crutches, what if I adjust my focus to, hey, God, I'm going to ask, look, listen, and take action. Hey, can you use me today to have your love and light flow through me? And I'm going to look for these opportunities and I'm going to listen for them. And then I'm going to take zero responsibility for the outcome, right? Maybe the person says, oh my goodness, this was a gift from God. It was an answer to prayer. Maybe they say, get away from me, creep. I don't know who you are, right? But if you're responsible for the outcome, there's a natural resistance to go, oh, I don't want them to think I'm flirting with them or that I'm a weirdo or whatever. Instead of saying, hey, all I'm doing is I'm teaching my unconscious mind that I'm a conduit for love and light to flow through. And yes, hopefully the recipient benefits, but it's not about that.
Yeah.
It's me choosing to be that conduit. So, and that's it. Recognizing, how do I increase my gratitude? How do I increase my growth? And how do I increase my giving? And I recognize that it's not the summation, but it's the invisible multiplier. Call it God, call it grace, call it Mother Earth. I don't care. We can relabel gravity, and you jump off this building, it doesn't care what you call it.
Yeah.
There's that impact that's going to happen no matter what you call this godlike figure.
So we haven't met before today, and we're talking about just like a bunch of random things, talking about growing up,
Yeah.
talking about cystic fibrosis, talking about being an entrepreneur, talking about building $1 billion company.
Yeah.
And we went to this subject, and I don't think that I talked in the last 5 to 10 minutes. And you can feel this passion. You can feel that like your heart is completely in this, and that like it's so fun to listen to somebody that's completely passionate about this purpose and this cause. And yeah, I just want to acknowledge you that like you can feel like that this is like guiding you, or something's calling you to go deliver this message. So
it's my current purpose, right? I love money. I love business. It's exciting.
It's so fun for me to listen to. Like me and you have a tremendous amount of like shared values. Like I'm a Tony Robbins nut.
Yeah.
Like I love the dude.
Yeah. He's a master at figuring out patterns.
Yeah. Pattern.
And recognizing what works.
Yep. Pattern recognition and pattern utilization, just copying, which is kind of like what you're describing and saying like, I want a recipe. Like it's not, hey, go figure it out. That's actually the third step. The third step is when you get really good on the fundamentals. You can see success and what it looks like. And your example of going to church, I've always thought about that. Like, I don't know what your experience was growing up with church. I hated church. I'm one of 7 kids.
Yeah.
I was number 5 of 7.
All right. About the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I was kind of, plugged right in the middle of the gang.
Yeah.
But we did it every week. And looking back, I value that so much. I value that tradition of, going to church. But the thing that always just struck me is I'm like, this isn't making me happy. Like, I'm so bored. Like, I'm like, I have a lot more grace for families showing up and doing the best they can. And, lay ministers getting up there that aren't getting paid and just, you know what I mean? But like, then I'm just like, if I could be watching football or being here, if I could be golfing, or if I could be doing 100 other things. But I think as I've gone through time, you go through and you realize like you have pattern recognition, which is, what do I want in my life?
Yeah.
And who's doing it well?
Yeah.
And when I would go to church, I'd look around that room and I would see some people that I'm like, I want that. I want, husband and wife that you can tell they love each other. Like, you can just see that there's some magic.
Yeah.
And then you see kids that, I'm like, I want that family. I want that, Gary Stevenson was my like rich dad growing up. Cool. He was the local entrepreneur. He built Icon Health and Fitness.
Very fun.
His son was my best friend, and
cool.
And my family was way different. My dad's a real estate agent. My mom's a nurse. The best humans on the planet. But they both worked, to go support 7 kids. But I'd go to the Stevenson's house and they had nice things. They had experiences that I wasn't having. They had a house that I didn't have. And I remember being a young kid being like, that's what I want. I don't know what the word is to build a business and go create jobs and go create financial independence. But I like that. And that's what I want. And then you kind of go through it. And then it's pattern utilization. It's how do you go copy the people that are actually not reinventing the wheel, but just copying like good habits and making those your life, whether it's working out or studying, you're going through this list of these thought leaders that have inspired you. And, the only reason I asked the question on who, I had that same experience. I, started this habit of, reading a book a week.
Awesome.
And it's changed my life. You know, you end up reading thousands of books.
Great teachers are in those pages.
Yeah. And, you know, went back to Harvard and started going to Harvard 2 to 3 times a year. And, you know, 12 or 13 years later, you've been there a lot of weeks.
Yeah.
And you get exposed to just some really incredible thought leaders and incredible people. And Tony Robbins, same thing. But then the third piece of that is the pattern creation. And what you were describing right there was you get so frustrated because you're like, hey, the theme is, hey, here's the principles, go figure it out. And there's got to be like, I mean, you're a salesperson. There's sequence, there's training. You probably trained 1,000, you know, people to go create revenue.
Yeah.
And there really is a process of taking somebody from who's never created revenue to go create revenue.
Yeah. And it's a process that's been figured out because there's money behind the process.
Yeah, it drives it. Yeah, there's that incentive.
And think of it. I mean, think of you come to some business professional, let's say in the sales industry or in the revenue department, right? And go ask some CRO what their numbers are on what pipeline looks like and what the drip campaign looks like and how much top line they have and what the commissions look like and what the bottom line, and they know their numbers.
Yeah.
But yeah, the exact same person, if you ask them what matters to them personally, after you dig in deep, you'll see that they really value fulfillment. They don't know how to verbalize it, but they do value it. And then ask them, how fulfilled were you yesterday? Well, 1, they don't know how fulfilled they were. 2, they have no measuring rod on how to even express to you what fulfillment is or how to measure that fulfillment.
Yeah.
And with the G-Cube formula, it gives you a numeric fulfillment score, right? So we've created an app. I hired my previous head of sales at LoanPro, and we've created an app called G-Cube. It's free. It's free to download, and you'll fill out a quiz, just a questionnaire, and it will pop out a numeric fulfillment score for you.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and it will not only do that, but it'll tell you your highlights, your lowlights, and give you insights on where you are now. But most importantly, as you talk about pattern recognition and utilization and how do you implement the concepts, it's one thing to know and to have a score that says, my gratitude's lower than it should be. And my overall score of fulfillment's lower than it should be. That's one thing, right? And to pull back the curtain a little bit, a super low score in one of your G's is a 1, average is a 3, and high is a 5. Super simple math. You're going to take somewhere between 1 and 5 times 1 to 5 times 1 to 5, and you're going to get a score. 100 points is true fulfillment. I realize that 5 times 5 times 5 is 125, but you don't need perfection to be truly fulfilled. 100 plus, you're good to go. But think of it. Average is 3 times 3 times 3, 27.
Yeah, which is way lower. You know what I mean?
Way below an F.
But I would probably say, so I've told this story before, but I had this like profound, I went and did this program at Harvard called Owners, Presidents, Managers. You got to have 20 million of rev. You got to be an entrepreneur. It's a 3-year program, really cool program. But the group was phenomenal. It was from all over the world, you know, incredible entrepreneurs.
Fun.
And we're in the 3rd year of 3, and the professor comes in and he asked the question, you got 180 people in this room, big room. He said, how happy are you? And everybody in that room should be happy. Like on the world score, they were all doing really well.
Yeah.
And the breakdown, it was about a third of and you could substitute happy with fulfilled.
You can, yeah.
And about a third was very fulfilled, very happy. You had about a third of the room that was somewhere in the middle, and then you had a third that was unhappy or unfulfilled.
Yeah.
And this professor, he posed this question, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since he said, are there things that you do on a daily basis that make you happy? And everybody went through and they wrote those things. And it kind of goes to your point of like the inverse of gratitude and rooting out the entitlement.
Yeah.
Where people found happiness were these like tender, simple moments. And I found it the same way. It was this eye-opening experience of saying, when I wrestle my kids to church, and I've always had kind of this mentality, I don't like church, but I've always gone. And I'm in that moment saying, I actually am really happy when I'm sitting there with my wife and my 5 kids.
Yeah.
And, and all hell broke loose. But we're there and we showed up, and like that makes me really happy.
Yeah.
And it was...
Happy is a tricky word because organizations like Disney have stolen happy. What does happy even mean?
Yeah.
Right? Because happy is often tied to instantaneous gratification.
Yeah, so true.
Fun, stimulation.
Yeah.
Not that those things are bad, but it's impossible to have that 24/7. So am I happy if I think, well, am I currently stimulated and impressed and am I giggling?
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not right now, right? Life's 50-50. My wife's a life coach and she'll say that a lot.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the thing. If anybody in your audience, if you're having a hard time with church, let me take a little second here. Imagine for a moment that you're going out to eat and the church is an all-you-can-eat buffet. And so you walk into this and there's some really incredible things at the buffet. And before you actually put anything on your plate, you take your plate and you got to go look. And you got to go look at everybody else in the restaurant. And you got to look at their plate, see what's on it. Because you'll probably be surprised. That person has meatloaf and Brussels sprouts. Out of everything they could put on their plate, that's literally what they're putting on their plate. And guess what? If you put it on your plate, you put it in your body and you consume it, it becomes you. And so go and look at the buffet and you'll find that although there are lots of things there, right? You can lean into whatever they are. You are the one in control of what you put on your plate.
No, so true. It's so true and so relevant. It's actually like the exact, I've got amazing friends and my wife is like gonna take me to heaven. Like she's just like this like force of nature, and like leader in our family for sure. But that's the realization that, do you know David Butler?
I know of him.
So did a podcast with David.
Okay.
And he just had this beautiful state, this beautiful way to talk about God and talk about Jesus and talk about faith and humanity and how we all fit in the mix. And I get caught up on like these like weird little points. And it was just so good for me to just kind of go into your reference of saying like, I am fully in control of my experience. But it was even a step before that of saying, I really value this. I value being with my family and with my friends and my neighbors and showing up. And it's easier for all of us not to.
Yeah.
But we do it, and you go spend time together and you go take time to reflect on the previous week, and then you make commitments to be, a better version of yourself. I'm like, there's nothing about that I don't value.
Mm-hmm.
And I value that my kids see it. I think about my experience growing up of like not having a great attitude or a great experience with it, but really valuing it. And it like set these foundations, and my mission was kind of the first time.
Where'd you go?
Went to Oklahoma City.
Okay.
But my mission changed me. I mean, my mission was the first time where I loved the church.
Yeah.
And it was probably going to your kind of, G cubed.
Yeah.
I was growing at a really aggressive clip. I was so far outside of my skis. I was learning I was learning Spanish. I was learning leadership. I was learning to wake up early and to study and make and keep commitments and to get out on time and get home on time so you're tremendous growth.
Yeah.
But also tremendous giving.
Yeah.
You're
think of it for a second.
You're whole. And so like when you take your kind of your fulfillment cube and you say gratitude.
Yeah.
There's a tremendous amount of, times where I would think about the things that I love back home.
Mm-hmm.
And I miss those things.
Yeah.
But I also was really grateful for like the simplicity. I remember I went and I was Spanish speaking in Oklahoma, and we're having these Spanish Christmases, and you're going and you're getting this taste of this Latin American culture. And they just love Jesus, and they celebrate Jesus and the Navidad and all, and you're with a family eating tamales on Christmas talking about Christ. And I'm just like, this is the good stuff. Like, this is a beautiful.
You nailed it. You nailed it, right? I mean, I think we all innately know within, but it's hard to reach. So one of the experiments I like to do is imagine for a moment that you have the opportunity to sit down with yourself, but your 80-year-old self. No cell phone, no media, nobody's recording it. And literally for an hour, you get to just talk to the older version of you.
Yeah.
But not any version. This is the version that's happy, healthy, and physically in good condition for his or her age, right? Is beaming. They have that twinkle in their eye. They have that giggle in their voice. They've built the family, right? They're who you want to be,
Yeah.
right? And if you had that chance to sit down and talk with who you want to be someday, how would that version of you counsel you to show up today?
Yeah.
And a lot of things that you're touching on right now. Look, if you got a fat bank account or a super fat bank account or a thin bank account, I don't think we're really going to care when we're 80. Just really don't. Do your kids like you? Do they want to spend time with you?
Yeah.
Do they revere you in a certain way? Do they appreciate you? How does your wife talk about you when you're not around, right? How have you showed up? How present have you been? Right. And I think these things, and we can access it through really, which is a combination of subconscious and God.
Yeah.
If you need a visual for it, picture your 80-year-old self, and you'll find that you already know what to do.
Yeah.
You know how to get the rubber to meet the road. You know what to focus on that's going to generate a life that's fulfilling.
Yeah.
And look, I love money, but it's not the bank account. All resources is an accelerant to who you've decided to be.
So
if you're a bad guy, you got more to be bad with. If you're a good guy, you got more to be good with. That's it. It's just a multiplier, like so many things in this world. And so, great. Is it awesome? Yeah. It's awesome, but it is not going to change you from unfulfilled to fulfilled.
Yeah. It's going to exaggerate it.
Yeah. It'll magnify it and it'll put it in the limelight for others to see, but that's all, right? So you're not going to, we all know if you're sitting on a beach sucking down a virgin pina colada all by yourself, at some point you're going to look around and say, this is boring.
Yeah.
I got to do something, which I'll put it in this terms. I got to grow.
Yeah.
I need to be able to laugh with friends. I need to be able to be filled with gratitude and change my thoughts.
Has that always been natural for you? Like, have you been able to enjoy the journey all along the way? Like you said, your wife's a life coach. Obviously, like you're like a avid consumer of good, like an avid, of like knowledge or truth, wherever you can go pick it up. But has that always come really natural, or do you struggle with it at different points in the journey?
Energetic, being optimistic has definitely been part of my nature, even since I was young. But I have had a number of limiting beliefs. We don't even know where they come from, right? Sometimes we tie them and we say, oh, it's part of the gospel. Right? It's part of the church. Well, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Right? You can have two people hitched to the same wagon and this person says, oh, life is such a dance. It's such a pleasure. And the next person will stand up and say, I guess the whole goal is to endure to the end.
Yeah.
Just struggle through it. Well, they've hitched their wagon to the same horse and yet their story is completely different.
Yeah.
So I've definitely seen some major adjustments to my own story in the last 8 years.
And what would you attribute that to?
A lot of it, some of it was my wife. Some of it was making some mild adjustments in how I chose to show up.
Give me some examples.
Well, let's see. To get a little personal, like a decade ago, I was completely okay with watching some rated R movies. Right? We go, it's Braveheart. I love Braveheart and Shawshank Redemption. And, I had my own justification why this is fine. Today's world, it's fine. You can just go VidAngel it and watch whatever you want. Just take out the stuff that's inappropriate, right? But at that point, my wife said, I think that our house would have more of the spirit if you never watch rated R movies. And I watched them only a couple times a year. It wasn't like this big thing. But and so I said, you know what? I don't know if I can commit to never watching a rated R movie, but I can commit to not watching one for a month.
Yeah.
And then a month later, I said, I can commit to another month. And then I said, I can commit to the rest of the year. And then at that point, I said, I don't watch rated R movies. That's not who I am anymore.
Yeah. So the whole identity piece changed.
Yeah. So it's honestly, it's not that from the outside there would look like there's much of an adjustment.
Yeah.
But as Uchtdorf always talks about, 1 degree adjustment as you fly your plane, you go thousands of miles and you're in a very different spot.
Yeah.
So I got to the point that my oldest had just got baptized. I have 2 sets of twins. Right? Those that couldn't have kids now have doubles, right? And they're amazing, amazing kids. I got a set of, my oldest set are 2 boys. They're both serving in Argentina right now.
How exciting is that? Congratulations.
Some of my best friends. They're just incredible. And my daughter and my 16-year-old son, they're just incredible humans.
Yeah.
But I got to the point that I was like, you know what? I can't say one thing and do something slightly different.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to hear what I say. They're going to see what I do.
Yeah.
And so, not that it was a major adjustment, but I made mild adjustments 8, 9, 10 years ago that eventually, years later, put me on this journey to actually even care about fulfillment.
Yeah.
And then I spent a couple of years with that and then wrote the book. And now I'm, doing public speaking and keynotes and retreats. And I live this. It has become my currency.
Because it's obviously not like a money thing.
No, I lose money on it.
Yeah. Like
right? It's all through the charity.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying is like, there's a lot of people who go do what you're doing right now to make a living.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I've always struggled a little bit with that. I like learning from the doers. The whole point of this podcast is a case study. It's actually like diving deep into someone's life that I admire and to try to go pick the gold, see the patterns and the good stuff, because success leaves clues. And people who are, doing stuff at a high level, they have habits and rituals and mindsets and stories that you're describing that, that there's commonalities. I'll give you the other extreme to that. So I did one of these with a guy named John Jackson, and his mom was murdered when he was 11. Never knew his dad. His aunt took him in. When he was 16 or 17 years old, and his aunt was his hero. She was also a drug dealer.
Oh.
And they got pulled over, and she said, hey, if I have these, I have to go to jail. Will you say that they're yours? And so he said, yep. And so they put him into juvenile. And he had this reaction when he went to juvenile where he felt so much power and like so much like significance. You had the police walking him in, and he was cuffed, and people are looking at him, and he experienced something that he'd never experienced before. And it was so interesting listening to him, but he said, like, I knew I was going to be in prison.
Oh.
Like, that was 16 years old. Can you imagine?
Darn. Yeah.
And he ended up going and getting out, doing like 5 armed robberies in 6 months, and gets put away for 20 years.
Oh boy.
And goes through, every level of maximum security, and he's explaining like the underworld of prison, which just blew my mind. I mean, like so fascinating. But he got to the end where he was supposed to get out, and he's in solitary confinement. And he's like, you don't cry in prison. You can't show weakness. And I'm in my cell, and I'm just crying like a baby. And I'm like, this isn't going to be my life. And there was a girl named Kat who she worked at a private equity firm. She worked with Summit Partners. And she ended up visiting these prisons, and something just captured her. She quits her job, and she goes and starts building out this program where they would teach inmates entrepreneurship. And she meets John, and she like goes to him and says, hey, you're special. How long are you in here? He said 5 years. Said, okay, you're going to be my leader in this prison. And she empowers him, gets him the curriculum, and he ends up crushing it. Gets out. They end up getting married.
Oh, wow.
And that's what he does professionally now, is they're in 800 prisons.
Wow.
So yesterday, we took a group of our investors, and we went up to the prison up in Cedar City. I'd never done it. And you go into this prison, and, out of hundreds of people, there's 15 that they choose. You could do whatever you want. Yeah. And these 15 are choosing to go through this entrepreneurship program and try to better their life. And so these are the ones that are striving. And so we go through this experience, and it was so profoundly humbling for me, because you're sitting and you're listening to people's stories.
Yeah.
And you're realizing, man, this is 2, 3, 4 degrees away from my story.
So
this
true.
person's not different than me.
Yeah.
But it's a compounding effect of some poor choices.
Yeah.
And like he went through this exercise. He put these 2 lines of tape, And the inmates stood on one side of the line and we stood on the other side. And then it went through a list of probably 50, 60 questions.
Mm.
And if that question was relevant to you, you had to step on the line. And it was like, I had 2 parents. And most of us stepped onto the line. Most of the inmates stepped off of the line. I had a home where there wasn't drug or alcohol abuse. There wasn't there was physical abuse in my home. There was sexual abuse in my home. And you're just physically watching, oh my goodness, this person was dealt a hand. I had 2 parents. I had brothers and sisters. I had a church community. I had a sports community.
Yeah.
I had a lot of people looking out for me.
Yeah.
A lot of people holding my hand. Like when I got off track a little bit, I had a lot of people, and and it was just this profound experience. And I think bringing it back to what you're describing, when you find that passion or find that purpose, it's like it calls to you. And I think when I was listening to you, you can just feel like you found it. You found this sweet, like that, like spot in the wave, that sweet spot where you're living kind of what God put you on this earth to do. And it's fun. I can see it. I can recognize it.
It is. It is fulfilling to me.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you go do something that an outsider would say, "Oh, that's so nice of you." And why that might be true, like your experience yesterday, that event, you taking time out of your day to go do that. Wow, that was compassionate of you, right? That was big of you to think like that. And that might be true, but the reality is you received much more than you gave.
So much.
And that's just how giving goes, right? It's because truthfully, we're not the giver. We're only a conduit.
Yeah.
And we're not responsible for the outcome either. It's just amazing.
I've got do you know Todd Peterson?
Yeah, I do.
So Todd was my boss.
Really?
Worked for Todd for 16 years and kind of my model of like what success looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a billionaire guy, still married to the same girl, great family, big contribution.
Uncommon in the billionaire world.
Yeah,
awesome.
big contribution to the community. But he's the most generous human that I've ever met. And he had this habit and where he would have cash at all times. He'd have a little bag and he'd have cash. And he would look for opportunities, kind of micro giving, $100 at the gas station. If, somebody, it looks like they're struggling to fill up the gas or,
great,
tipping a waitress or whatever. And so I adopted this habit. And out of any habit that I have in my life that tests what emotional state I'm in, if I'm in a state of abundance, if I'm in a state of,
scarcity,
giving versus scarcity.
Yeah.
And if I'm in a state of, $100, one, I don't want to put the physical effort to put myself out there and get rejected.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier just not to look down or to,
Yeah.
But I've had those where, it's interesting that you said you're not responsible for the outcome. I've had some of these where like I feel it in my heart, approach the person, and it's a complete dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Like I offended
Rejection.
them. Yeah, I offended them. And I'm like, but those are not the normal.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
But they happen often enough that if you believe that you're responsible for the outcome, it could cause you to pause.
To stop. Yeah.
I don't know if this is quite, not sure that's the experience I'm looking for.
Yep.
Right. But when you recognize I'm not responsible for the outcome, I'm just simply teaching my soul, my spirit is teaching my mind, my software, that this is something that we do because we choose to be a fulfilled human.
But I'm so aligned with you on that to me is exercise for giving, daily exercise.
You're right.
It's a habit and a ritual that allows me to have my giving glasses on and to look for opportunities of people
It's
in
the
need.
action required to elevate your giving score.
Yeah.
But think of it. If you have somebody that is giving, right? They're giving money, like it's really easy to pinpoint people that are rich that give money. Okay, great. Right. Other time, talent, those ones are a little bit more difficult to pinpoint. But let's say the person's giving a lot.
Yeah.
So they get a high score in giving.
Yeah.
And let's say that they are growing a lot. They're learning and reading and not wasting their time. Great. And they're doing really good in those two. We see this all the time. People that are rich and famous and then they kill themselves.
Yeah.
And we are left scratching our heads saying, oh, well, if I was rich and famous and I would. But think of it. In this mock example, somebody has a high score in giving and they have a high score in growth. But let's say that this person has a low score in gratitude. Right? They get home and they're like, why isn't this done? Where are the kids? They're so ungrateful, and somebody cuts them off and they flip them off on the freeway and they're angry.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of life does this person have? Even though they're giving and even though they're growing, because their gratitude's low, their overall fulfillment is very low.
I don't find too many people in my life that don't have a lot of gratitude that do the second two.
They are somewhat hand in glove.
Very,
day by day, we all change, right? And
very rare though.
Yeah.
Like very rare do I find somebody that's like peak growth, and peak giving that's pretty miserable.
You're right.
Like I actually can't think of anybody that I know that's getting a 5 in those two categories. That's a 1 on the gratitude. Like my experience is the gratitude usually comes first.
Yeah.
And
gratitude is first. Right?
Yeah.
And that's how I outline it in G cubed as well. It's the easiest one to adjust like this.
Yeah.
Right. Because growth and figuring out how to become and be still, that iterative process takes some learning.
And it's painful.
Yeah. And it's
like when you're talking about
it's a muscle that you have to build.
When you're talking about 17 startups, I guarantee you go to LoanPro and you say that couldn't have happened without number 3. And number 7 and number 9. And what I learned from this
expensive lessons,
what I learned from this real estate investment, and what I learned from software company number 1 that did some things really well, but didn't have everything.
Yeah.
And so at that growth, there's 10,000 hours. Like there is a price to be paid for excellence or success. And you can't borrow it from anybody. You can't borrow it from, like, to get a testimony.
Yeah.
There is work that needs to be done to get a healthy physical body.
Yeah.
There is work and all of these things, you know what I mean? And so it's that growth piece. But I think the other thing that's magic about growth, like you can get the fulfillment from growth by starting. You don't need to be at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Like just starting that journey.
It's not the end result, right?
Yeah.
It's not actually getting to the destination.
Yeah.
Right? It's not even the journey to get to the destination. It's who you're becoming as you're traveling towards the desired destination. And so we get it wrong all the time. Oh, if I just had, or it's the joy in the journey. Okay, that's somewhat compelling. But the truth is, it's the becoming process. As you're choosing to move in that direction.
Yeah.
It changes who you are. And that's the magic of what we're really looking for.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's really easy to highlight success. It's easy to see, oh, the billionaire, oh, this and that, right? The big business. But it doesn't translate super well to fulfillment.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes you can, check both boxes.
Yeah.
But oftentimes you get the super rich dude that's on, wife number not 1, and kids don't like, and they're old and they go, oh, I did a really good job climbing a ladder. I just put the ladder on the wrong wall.
Yeah.
And I don't really care about the billions. I would have preferred to become somebody that my posterity and my spouse want to spend time with and are proud of.
I love the business aspect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's usually where I go spend my time is how you built these businesses and this big business.
Yeah, a charity is not that different, right? A charity is a business, a 501c3.
Yeah.
It's an organization, but the primary objective isn't profitability.
Yeah.
It's sustainability, but it's impact, right? And so, candidly, I had an experience with my older brother. I shared with you my younger sister passed cystic fibrosis. My older brother was close to passing as well. and he swam for the U of U. He was ripped. He was like 215 pounds of muscle, and he was down to 140, 150 pounds.
Wow.
The doctors told him that the end is near. He has a couple months. He was saying goodbye to people, and a new drug hit the market. They call it the miracle drug in the cystic fibrosis world. It was too late for my sister, but myself, I'm on it, and my brother is on it as well. And it really turned things around for him.
Wow.
Me as well, but I probably had years more than him, but it's turned around things for both of us. But I had a dream one night after we had, the first bite at the apple at our software company. And I pictured my older brother in his casket. And I knew of all the dreams that had died with him. And then I woke up and he wasn't dead. And it hit me so hard guys, what are we waiting for? What are we doing? Like literally, you need 100 million? Well, we got it. You need a billion? Like where's the number where you actually can go and not have the end objective be a financial measuring rod, but have it be something different? And so got together with my brothers, Rhett, Ben, and Wade, and our spouses, and a really good friend of ours who's a doctor and his wife. And we decided to start a charity called Become More. And my wife and I, and Ben and his wife, and Rhett and his wife, we funded the thing with 7 digits and said, we want this to run on its own after this, but we want it to be up and running so we're not begging for the first dollar, right? And so I am leading the initiative with Todd Jorgensen on the fulfillment side of things, and we're having a lot of fun there, and we've talked about that. But on the poverty reduction side, Wade is taking lead, and my brother Ben is heavily involved, and Tyler Elmore's heavily involved as well. And so through an iterative process, because we tried a lot of things that we're not at right now, right? So hindsight's always 20/20, but we failed 100+ times on trying things, right? Build a house for somebody, and then they just sit on the porch and don't do anything. Take people that are living in the garbage pile at the dump in Cambodia and Phnom Penh that, are making 48 cents a day scrummaging through garbage to recycle some things, right? In the grossest of circumstances. And take them out. And it didn't really work. So we ended up going to the remote villages of Cambodia. And we decided through an iterative process where I'll just share where we landed, we're adopting whole villages, right? Not one person, adopt the whole village. Don't take the villagers out of the village. Bring the adoption process to the village. And these are village-centric communities where they have, village leaders, and they have kind of this hierarchy, right, of respect. And we're bringing health, education, and creating savings through animal husbandry, doing beef differently.
Wow.
And just like with your own children, if you were going to solve poverty for your own child, you wouldn't just say, here's a water filter. Well, of course, you would give them a water filter, but you wouldn't assume that would solve poverty. You just knew it would solve diarrhea. Right? And so the same as if you're going to adopt a human or a village on the other side of the planet, what are all the steps necessary to actually have the measure of success be lifted out of poverty, a whole community? And we want the data. My brother Wade is his PhD is as an economist, and he was actually an economist at a variety of universities, including the U of U. And so he's a data-driven individual. We want the data to tell a story, not some good, salesperson. That 80 to 90+% of our villages were in extreme poverty or extreme poverty when we adopt them. And then the goal is at the 5, 6, 7 year mark, over 90% of the village is out of poverty. Well, how do you do that? Step 1, through health. You got it. Check out your own life. If you're sick, what do you care about?
Nothing.
Yeah, I just want to feel better.
Yeah.
Right? And these people, they just don't feel good, right? So we bring in clean water, wash stations, bathrooms, soap, feminine hygiene, dental. They don't have a dentist in what we would call a county. Right? Imagine Davis County with not one dentist.
Crazy.
They've never seen a dentist. Vision, they don't have an eye doctor anywhere because they can't make any money. So they can't be located there. So we bring the eye doctor, we bring the dentist to them. Right? We bring the water, we bring the feminine hygiene. And so we cover the basis of what basic health could look like so that these youth and the adults can care about the next pillar. And the next pillar is education, right? So they have a school system. It's broken, but they have one. only about 50% of the kids go to school. They love school, but they can't go. And why? So go on individual child basis through the village leaders on why is your child not going to school. Sometimes it's they need a bicycle. Sometimes they need a uniform. Sometimes they need a little bit of tuition to cover the light bill, right? Because it's free, but they have to pay their $3 for the light bill. And if they can't pay, they can't go. So we cover what needs to be covered to get them to school. The majority of kids say, I want to go to school, but their parents say, I need my child's labor because we don't know what we're going to eat this weekend. And so we developed a attendance rice program where if the child is in school 85% plus of the month, we give them in US dollars a $7 bag of rice, $7. Guess what? We have over 90% attendance in school now because that $7 is worth more than the labor that could have been provided by the child to the family. So that's for the first half of school. Then the second half of school at noon, we start a new school called the Become More School. And this is, we teach one topic and one topic only. I think we have like 1,200 kids in the schools, and that is English. Sure convenient. That's our language, but it's the international business language. And get this, if you graduate from college in Cambodia versus if you don't even graduate high school, but you can speak English and Khmer, the native tongue, fluently, you make 7 times more speaking English than getting a PhD. Think of that. We have no type of divide in America like this. I mean, it's incredible. 14 times the poverty line if you can speak English. So it's just from an economic standpoint, it is one of the biggest drivers of wealth is to know the English language. So instead of earning, $2-3 a day per household, now if you speak English with the age of the internet, you can make $2 to $5 an hour.
That's incredible.
So it really is a game changer. However, as we find in America, if you're over 20, you're not learning a foreign language in general.
Harder.
Right? So they're not going to learn. So the older generation, they're just not going to learn. So the third and last pillar is creating savings. We want them to have the definition of wealth, which is you have more money at the end of the month than month left at the end of the money.
Yeah.
Right? And how do you do that? Well, we iterated just like business. What's working? Okay, people love doing cashews. Well, if we do cashews, they all come available at the same time. We're going to saturate the market. The supply is going to be huge. The demand's going to be low. There's going to be rot and it's not going to work. But beef doesn't work like that. So as we went through a lot of different things, the poorest among us, they get their protein in this world from bugs and chicken. But as soon as you get out of that level and you get away from bugs, what do you add? You had beef.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of countries want Cambodian beef, even Cambodia, right? So we're helping them do beef differently and effectively get a 5 times ROI on how they do beef. In fact, their cows, their special breed with the big bunny ears and the hump on their back, after we fatten them up, their own people don't even recognize them. They're like, no, this must be a different breed. It's so big. It's so meaty, right? Instead of all emaciated, seeing the ribs, having a calf every other year instead of every year because their bodies just can't handle it.
Yeah,
they're healthy. And so we can vaccinate them. We can feed them protein. We can drill for water. We can build a little barn. And so they don't have to walk around losing all the calories. We do it differently and we can help them get a 5 times ROI.
How long have you been doing this?
We've been doing this about 4 years now.
It feels like you've made insane progress in 4 years.
It feels
like this is like 20 plus years of.
Fund it with some capital. We have a great team. Wade is so passionate about this.
Yeah.
I mean, we go to the school.
How many times a year are you going to Cambodia?
I'm not going as much as Wade is going. Wade spent like 40% of 2023 there, about 35% of 2024. Last year, he spent about 35%.
So he's
going there all the time.
He's putting 100+ days a year out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's out there a lot.
And was Wade a partner with you at LoanPro?
He was not. He was a professor at the U of U.
Yep,
but his son now is serving an LDS mission in Cambodia.
Oh.
My other brother, Ben, business partner, both of his sons got called to Cambodia.
How sick is that?
Tyler's son got called to Cambodia. Wade's son's best friend got called to Cambodia. I mean, there's a movement there. And in fact, our village adoption has brought some priesthood to these villages, which has allowed them to open a branch.
What?
It's really fun.
Got to be so proud.
It's really very fun. In addition, this isn't why we're doing it, but a wonderful side benefit is we are doing the largest of its kind census in the rural areas of Cambodia, because we've adopted 4 villages. But guess what? We have 85 more that want to be adopted.
Wow.
So they're saying, what can we do to be adopted? It's working so well there. Please adopt us. Well, both resources and access to additional village leaders is limiting us on doing so. Plus, in the world of economics, you want to prove out a model before you go nuts on a model, right? And so 4 villages is meeting our needs on proving the model out right now. Well, the village leaders have pretty much said, look, what can we do to be able to get in line here? And what would help? And we said, well, we need to be data-driven. So the village leaders have said, we support gathering data. So we put together a census where we can go into a home, we can ask the 100 questions, right? How many people live here? How often do you have food insecurity?
Yeah.
What are the ages of everybody? How many generations? All this stuff. And this is being endorsed by the village leaders. Well, guess what? We don't have the manpower to do this. So we have a formal partnership with the LDS Church, where now the LDS missionaries go and do this. And they're having, last I heard, they're having about a 7% success ratio on placing Book of Mormons.
How you guys have got to be so proud. Like, this feels like such an inspired idea. I mean, you talk about fulfillment. I don't know how you can't be like peak fulfillment.
It's just
like
fun.
Building stuff like this.
Isn't this more fun than yachts?
I like yachts too.
Yeah, yachts are great.
Like, I'm down. I'm down for all of it.
It's fun at a different level.
When I think about my buffet, I want all of it. I want the Cambodia
loaded up,
and I want the yacht, and I want to experience all of it. So I'm, for me, it's not either or. Like I think that journey, but I think if it's all one or all the other, yeah. My preference would be if it's all one.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I love beachfront property in Hawaii.
Yep.
It's one of my one. It's just so fun.
You love it.
I love it. I love bringing people there. I love spending time there myself. I love sending people that couldn't make it otherwise.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Fires
this is fun at a different level though, right? We failed a lot, but we fell fast.
Yeah.
And we fell forward, and we don't look at it as a failure. We look at it as, okay, that didn't work. So great. How do we tweak and adjust?
So my wife, she's just finished up her MBA at BYU, and we started our foundation.
Okay.
And so that she's kind of leading it up, and we're kind of in the early stages of really getting our thesis on, because you can't say yes to everything. You kind of have to really narrow it down, and you gotta. So it'll be fun to introduce her to you, and
Well, you guys should come to Cambodia with us. The bridge between fulfillment and poverty reduction, we call them fulfillment trips.
How many people do you take?
I think we cap out at mid-40s.
Okay, so you can take a group.
Yeah.
So like that, it's something.
Yeah, we've taken over 1,000 Americans to Cambodia.
We've done an international trip almost every year for about the last decade, and they're some of my favorite life experiences I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah.
The trade-off on those is some of them are less meaningful. You're like you're painting a house, or you're building.
They don't need our labor.
Yeah.
So the truth is, we wanted to build an organization that it wasn't based on Americans.
Yeah.
They don't need some white Mormon from Utah to come save the day. No, they're taking care of that on their own by us building a structure that is repeatable and predictable.
Yeah.
In country.
No, it fires me up.
But bringing Americans there, it's we call it a fulfillment trip, because you're able to have a perspective change and be, how are they eating spiders, playing in virtually no clothes, giggling and loving their life?
I mean, that's what I get every time that I go. It's this tattoo on my soul that I can never unsee.
Yeah.
Where you go experience a human in another part of that you're like, this person's like me.
Yeah.
But their upbringing is very different than my upbringing.
Yeah.
And
they bleed, breathe,
and the happiness is consistent, that you start realizing like money doesn't equal happiness.
No.
And things don't equal happiness, because these individuals have no money or no things.
Yeah.
But they're pretty happy.
Yeah. Cambodia has been ranked the happiest country on the planet.
Wow.
Like 3 of the last 6 years. So not all the time, but they're way high up there. Think of where America is. right?
Gotta be lower.
It's very low. And you would think that our abundant resources in general would really spike that. But it's just a clear indicator of how loosely resources and fulfillment are connected. So I'm all about, what is the fulfillment formula? How do we build a fulfilled life? Not just a prosperous life, which I'm a huge advocate of. I love money. I love business. I love real estate. I love winning in that world.
Yeah.
But that's not the wall I want my ladder placed on.
Yeah.
Because I know on my deathbed, deep relationships with my key people.
Yeah.
Right? Deep relationship with deity. Being proud of the person that I became is going to mean a lot more to me than the size of my bank account or the portfolio size.
But what fires me up about you is you're going to have a big bank account. You've actually mastered that one too. In business, creating a business is really hard. And you've actually paid the price and done that. Yeah. And I'm like, it's one thing to say I don't want that.
Yeah. It's fun. I still love business. I still do a lot of, we haven't talked much about what we're doing in business these days, but we're doing some pretty crazy things in the business world too, right?
I'm looking at what you guys have built, and I'm like, that's really hard to do.
Yeah. It's
so the comprehensiveness of your strategy is just completely inspiring to me.
Yeah, well,
and so I just want to kind of acknowledge you for living a really beautiful life. And the key insight that I got from the very first part of it, was this disease, if you would call it, or this condition that you were born with that could have been a limiting factor in this life that you got to go live. Somehow, whether it's good parents or you or whatever, you chose to have that be the reason to have urgency and to get going and to not wait. And I just
definitely
think that's
a perspective change.
It's such a beautiful way to interpret something that I think if you gave 100 people that same diagnosis, you'd probably get different interpretations of what life means going forward.
Probably. And honestly, that's one of my big missions. And shout out to my wife. She's really helped me in a lot of ways to recognize, one, the objective is not to hide the struggle.
Yeah.
It's actually difficult to connect with the human that you think is perfect.
Yeah.
And she's really taught me a lot of things in that. She keeps me grounded.
The authenticity.
Just so many things to help. Partnerships are so important here. And shout out to my brothers, Rhett and Ben. I mean, they, LoanPro wouldn't be where it is. I definitely was not the biggest lift.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Rhett is still the CEO of LoanPro, and he's doing a phenomenal job, and Ben did so much on the operations side. If I was trying to build that company all by myself, there's no way that it would be where it is.
You built an incredible life. Can't wait to, follow your journey, be a part of your journey, and see where we can lean in and go participate. It feels like any path that you're choosing to be on would be a path that we would love to follow, be on your coattails. So,
would love to explore with you or any of your listeners. Yeah. Come explore going to Cambodia with us, right?
Like that. That thing's done deal.
It's a really
we should 100%
hard
schedule
and enjoyable experience, right? And immediately go download the book G Cubed. It's on Audible. It's where any good books are sold. Go download the app. It's for free in the app if you want to listen or read it digitally. The quiz is in there. Look, our objective is we want to help you pull fulfillment into the now.
I'm going to do both, and I'll give you some good feedback on it. And thank you for coming in and spending an afternoon with me.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
This podcast is brought to you by Sandlot Partners.